Nutrition Hero Podcast. Igniting both the art and the science of functional medicine. Here's your host, Dr. Brad Watts.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Nutrition Hero Podcast. Dr. Brad Watts with you, as always, coming from the podcast lab, which fortunately, the podcast lab is in my home, which means still available for the Nutrition Hero Podcast, even on lockdown. All right, welcome back to this show. Thank you for participating in the Nutrition Hero Podcast, as always. Thank you to all of our listeners, even those first-time listeners from the last few weeks. Thank you for giving us 5-star review, thumbs up, whether you're on YouTube, hit subscribe, whatever it might be. Thank you for participating. Now, interesting times we're living in. Interesting times. One of the things that you listened to most recently was an interview that I gave for a group of doctors, integrated health physicians, etc. And you got to hear bits and pieces of it as we're talking about COVID-19 and some of the strategies that you, as a natural health care provider, can deploy with a little common sense. And so we're going to enhance understanding on some of those things today and open up some of those topics a little bit deeper, because there's still confusion around it as to really what's the immune system doing and why is it important to boost it, to pulse the immune system, and what does that mean for the rest of your health? Interesting. All right, so we're going to do that today. Anyway, I want to take a quick note and just encourage everybody, continue with your proper hygiene, continue with your social distancing, continue to do what you need to do in order to avoid even coming into contact with this mess, and then also realizing, and this is important as well, 80% of the people that are going to get exposed to it are going to recover from it, and most of them, let's put it this way, larger than 80%. Many, many, many people that are exposed to the COVID-19 situation don't even know it. And so that's why it's important to maintain your social distancing right now, is just to make sure that if you and your healthy immune system, right, your wealth of immune activity, if you are healthy and you're carrying it and you have no idea, don't be bringing it to other people that are susceptible or higher risk. So important. So anyway, thank you for continuing to participate with everybody's best in mind. At some point, it's going to turn down. Now, in the previous episode of this podcast, you listened to me talk about how mid-April you're going to start to see the tides turn. And I think that's, I'm going to hold by that recommendation or that prediction. It's still going to be mid-April. You're going to see the tides turn. And note that Dr. Fauci, the gentleman that is running the medical side of the show with the government currently right now, he's telling us that between 100 and 200,000 people could potentially pass away from this stuff. Now, he didn't give you a time frame on it. What if that's in the next 4 years? What if that's complications that people don't even know are present with infection yet? But 100 to 200,000 people, that's a lot of people. And right now, as of yesterday, when I looked, we were just under 3,000 as far as the number of people that have passed away. Now, 3,000 is nothing to shake a stick at, but when we look at 100 to 200,000 people actually passing away from this condition in the United States, that's a lot. Now, in his position, it's better for him to err on the side of, mass concern, inflate those numbers, so that when they're much lower, he looks like a genius in 6 months, right? That's what's happening here. So it's the same thing that President does. He always says what he wants, 70% more than what he actually wants, and then he'll settle and make everybody feel like they got a good deal. Same thing this guy's doing here. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind, because you're not going to be working from home forever. We're not going to be living off of a government dole forever. Like, you can't do that in the long run and expect to have a normal functioning community. And so, while I'm like everybody else right now, and I go, man, remember when we used to be able to go to restaurants? How fun is that? And looking forward to those days again, I do also think that we have to take what's happening and put it through the right filter, the right lens. Okay? Most of the social distancing is not for the people listening to this broadcast. Most of the social distancing is for the people that are above 55 years old, above 60 years old, the people that have a terrible immune system, the people that are living in a retirement situation right now, that's who this is for. And I think they're appreciative of the rest of the world pumping the brakes on the economic situation, people staying home, trying to protect them. That's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing that that's what's happening. So, anyway, in the previous episode, one of the things that we talked about was a 3-step recommendation that essentially you can use with yourself, your family, and your patients, and start pointing your own ability to control your immune system in the right direction. Those 3 things are concentrate immune forces, which we'll talk about a little bit more today, enhancing immune activity, and then busting films that viruses use to protect themselves. And all 3 of those things are important. There are a ton of people out there right now that are just getting on to number 3, talking about the films and breaking them, busting them wide open, etc. This is important because remember the nutrients that we're using, we talked about as film busters previously, they're not going to kill the virus. All right, that's not the point. The point is that your immune system, the interferon, right, in the natural killer cells, your innate ability, the original virus killer, you, has to do the work. What we want to do is enhance and assist that innate immune system. And I say innate immune system because it's the one you're born with. That's what needs to happen here. So when we talk about nutrients, we're not talking about nutrients killing off the virus. That's what you are for. What we are talking about is bolting on nutritional protocols that allow you to shine a little bit brighter and stronger so that that immune system can work a little bit heavier, have a larger impact on what's going on. So, and I think that makes sense, but I just wanted to clarify as you get a lot of questions from people that are like, how do I kill this? How do I kill that? Pump the brakes. You are the one that kills this and kills that. You're the one, your immune system is what kills pathogens of all kinds. It's not the nutrient that's killing the pathogens. And so that's an important spot to be in here. So anyway, as we talk about concentrating immune forces, one of the things that I think really hit home for people, listeners, previously is when we talked about the immune system as soldiers. One of the things that ended up costing the Nazis the Second World War was they were fighting on so many different battlefronts that they couldn't concentrate their forces enough with enough technology to overwhelm a concerted, mounted response by the Allies. Now, there are obviously volumes and volumes of books on this with opinions and all the stuff. Did the Russians actually win World War II, or was it the storming the beaches of Normandy on D-Day? What was it? And the answer is yes. Yes, it was a concerted effort. It was a concerted effort, and the immune system acts in a very similar fashion. So one of the things that I find as a functional medicine provider is people that are spending immune system activity on stupid things that they don't need to be. Imagine what happens to your immune system here as you rev up your sympathetic nervous system, because all you're doing is watching the news on a daily basis with people that are getting something out of you being freaked out and in constant fear. Right? They're getting better ratings, which means larger advertising revenues and more viewership that they can leverage into better ratings in the long run. So even if they're not getting like a lot more money right now from viewership, you better believe that that's what they're in the business of. The advertising dollars, the advertising dollars come after the viewers show up. So they're getting the viewers by freaking everybody out, and it's important to identify. When somebody gets something out of you being in terror, probably want to find something else to be watching. Now, along those lines, what does that do to your nervous system when you're in constant terror and fear? You're going to upregulate that sympathetic response. You're going to be pumping tons of that stress hormone that everybody knows and loves, cortisol. You're going to be pumping this stuff. And in the long run, when we look at how to mount an immune response, you probably don't want to have tons of cortisol present. What is corticosteroid used for in medicine in general? Well, it's an immunosuppressant, right? Steroids are immunosuppressants. Probably not what you want to have right now, as you are concerned and thinking about mounting a response to viral stressor. Just a side note. So, all right, now, when we talk about concentrating these immune forces, watching what goes in, or monitoring what goes in your eyes and in your ears is important. Don't listen to idiots. Don't listen to people that only speak fear. How is that going to help you? Like you don't know enough right now to be afraid for the next 3 months, right? Like you don't know enough. How does it help you to listen to people constantly dropping fear bombs in front of you, like, well, you know what they say? No, I don't know who they are, and I don't know what they are saying, because I'm monitoring what's going in my eyes and in my ears. Trusted sources with facts and data. That's it. That's it. So when opinion gets touted, when opinion gets pushed around in the marketplace as fact, I have a problem with that from a healthcare perspective, especially if there's better ratings in it for you to do it that way. So anyway, just throwing it out there for what it's worth, because it's important for you to do for yourself. You got to make sure that you're not allowing people to manipulate and start farming your mental activity. If they're going to plant fear, what do you think is going to come out later on? It's important for you to monitor what's going in your ears and in your eyes, so that you can monitor what comes out your mouth. And super, super important. And it's the same thing for your patient base as well. People start talking fear language to you and start dropping bombs and like, well, what about this? And did you know that we have to worry about this and that? I don't agree with them. Identify it for what it is, but police what's being planted in your world. You gotta police that. Concentrating your immune forces requires you in some parasympathetic activity for once in this weird American life, right? Some parasympathetic activity is where it's at. All right, so that's issue number 1. And that's an easy one to control. Easy one to control. You just got to make sure that you're not, not doing anything crazy with the media. And another way to concentrate your immune system forces outside of sympathetic activity is by lessening the amount of battles that your immune system has to fight, as I mentioned previously. There's no reason to make your immune system upset at your diet. Not right now. You have lack of options. You can't even go to a restaurant with your friends and be like, oh, I didn't know what to order, and I didn't want to put up make a fuss, so I'll just eat whatever they bring me. Bull. You don't have to do that right now. You don't have to do that at all. You can pick and choose what you want for the most part. And now, there's no better time than now. Now is perfect to get things organized with dietary programming. Meat, vegetables, nuts and seeds, a little fruit, right, if you have to. And that's it. That's a quality diet right there, and that's pretty easy. Don't eat things you're allergic to. Don't eat things you're sensitive to if you know about them. Right? Stop with the sugar. Stop with the starches. Stop with all the excess dairy, all the stuff. There's no reason to make your immune system angry at the food that's going in when there are other things in the world that your immune system can be angry about. Concentrating immune forces by minimizing a diet is an absolutely important thing to do right now. What do I mean by minimizing your diet? Everybody remembers something that I call a lemonade diet, but everybody remembers this master cleanser, I think is how you might remember this. But basically, you remember the lemonade thing you make of little maple syrup, stabilize your blood sugar. You drink it for 3 or 4 days, you lose 9 pounds, and you go, wow, how did that work? Let's look at what's happening here from a calorie perspective. There's no way you're losing 9 pounds of fat in a 3-day period following a master cleanser. You're not eating that much fat. You're not even burning that many calories. Right? What's happening is you're lessening the amount of inflammation in your body over that 3-day period, because you're presenting your body with one food choice for 3 days. One food choice for 3 days. Your body retains water to dilute the effects of inflammation. If I sprain my ankle playing basketball, it swells up. Right? Water goes to the site of inflammation. Well, think about when that's a chemical inflammation issue because of your diet and it's systemic total body. What happens? You retain water to dilute that inflammation 100% of the time. And this is one of the reasons why people lose so much weight when they go on a fast. They go on even the lemonade diet or the master cleanser. I keep calling it lemonade diet. This is what happens, is you start shedding water because there's less inflammation to dilute. So you start peeing out all of that excess water that you've been holding. This is important. Recognize the inflammation goes down because you're minimizing exposure to food variety. You could have 10,000 calories a day of that stuff and you're still going to lose weight because it wasn't calorie-based to begin with. It was inflammation-based to begin with. This is important because if we talk about concentrating our immune forces, the best way that I know how to concentrate your immune forces is by modified fasting. That's it, modified fasting. So even if you did something like Prolon or the bars they make, fastbar.com, that's one of my favorite ones to do right now, fastbar.com. If you're like stuck with an immune system issue right now or somebody in your household been exposed and you're like in fear that you're going to end up with it, get on those websites, fastbar.com. Get a few boxes of the bars. They're not even expensive, right? And use those as your modified fast. Now, the thing with Prolon, as we mentioned in a previous episode, I believe, might have, is that it doesn't trigger your body to stop fasting even though you're eating. And it's a pretty cool situation, and it works very, very well. And the bars have 250 calories in them, fastbar.com. And so have 4 of them a day if you want. You're still going to lose weight because you're minimizing the food exposure, the variety that's going in. It's kind of like this. Oftentimes people ask, they'll be like, Doc, why does variety of food make a difference? And so I'll say, well, I'm a provider, a healthcare provider, and so here's how I think of it. If I had to see, in an 8-hour period, if I had to see 8,000 patients, right, in an 8-hour period, and just say hi and shake a hand, okay, literally 8,000 people. Or if I got to say, spend 8 hours with one person, what would be more stressful at the end of the day? As long as I get to choose the one person, right? What would be more stressful? Well, obviously 8,000 people in 8 hours is more stressful because there's more energy spent. You're dealing with, the introduction and then the exit, the introduction and the exit of personality, the energy that they're carrying around, the electricity that they actually have in their body, right? And you gotta, even maybe it's just a funny word picture, but you still gotta look at it and understand that spending 8 hours with your brother or your spouse, or a sibling, that's a lot easier than spending 8 hours shaking 8,000 hands. It's a lot easier. Your immune system is no different. Right? By the end of the day, with 8,000 people of you saying hi, you'd be all talked out. You wouldn't want to say any other words the rest of the day. You wouldn't want to. Like if the average person says 8,000 words in a day, and you said one word to one person 8,000 times, that's way more stressful. That's much more mental energy. That's much more fatigue that's going to develop from that than you saying 8,000 words to one person in a day. You know it is. Your immune system acts the same way. When your immune system is spending attention on 8,000 little problems, it gets stressed out, very stressed out. But when your immune system can spend 8,000 units of energy or attention on one problem, right, you better believe that problem's going to get dominated, absolutely destroyed. Concentrating immune forces is nothing more than concentrating energy out, like energy flow. Like, I think you get the picture, right? I won't give you another word picture on this one, but I think you get the idea. Concentrate your immune forces by minimizing the battles that they got to fight. The easiest way to do that is to fast. Now, obviously, you can't avoid food forever because your body needs the nutrients in order to build proper immune function, among other things. But in the short term, we're living in a world that our health is being destroyed by food, not famine. Even though you're locked up in your house, it's being destroyed by food, not famine. There's a meme out the other day that I saw, And I kind of like this stuff every now and then. They're funny to look at, but a meme where there's a guy in his boxers and a t-shirt that has a stain on it, laying on his couch watching TV, and it says, in 2019, it says, get off the couch, you slob. And then it says, in 2020, thanks for saving the world, right? And that's where we're in right now, is there's a lot of temptation for you to destroy your immune system because people are bored. They miss their friends, they miss their family, whatever it might be. So I'm just encouraging you to concentrate your immune forces, even if that means you gotta fast for a few days. It's amazing to see, by the way, side note, how addicted the human body is to food. Oh man, it's amazing. Amazing. So check it out. Easiest way to concentrate immune forces, right there. Easy. Number 2, what I want to talk about, enhancing your immune activity. Now this is important because most of the time patients, especially chronic disease patients in the United States, are living on medications that are trying to downregulate their immune activity. Right, what am I talking about? Anti-inflammatories. How many people are taking Advil as like NSAIDs of any kind, steroids of any kind, autoimmune medications like methotrexate, which is actually a cancer drug, all this stuff. How many how many people are on these medications that are causing them to be immunocompromised? Millions. Millions. Millions and millions of people, and it's amazing. You want an immune response. The problem is that your immune response has been directed against self or your lifestyle for a long period of time, and it's irritating. It's irritating, so you live on Advil. And so here's what's going to happen. You're going to get people that are out there using Th1 stimulators, right? Echinacea and all this kind of stuff. I even talked about them the other day. People are going to use those, and they're reading from their doctors, don't use NSAIDs right now. Don't use your anti-inflammatory creams, etc. Don't use that stuff. Right? We don't want you to get corona. And so now all these people are like on fire because they don't understand why their immune system is attacking their joints in the first place. They don't understand why their immune system's irritated, with their sinuses, and now they have headaches and all this stuff. They don't understand. And so they're stimulating Th1 activity in order to fight a virus to mount an immune response, but they never followed first step, which was concentrate your immune forces by getting rid of all of the other problems. And so now their body's on fire, and they're like, oh, this is good. I'm taking these pills so I can defend myself against a virus. I want my immune system to be ready to go. And that virus comes knocking. But good Lord, my legs hurt. My back hurts. I have headaches. My knuckles are killing me. I never felt so awful. Man, I wonder if there's mold in my house. And they start going crazy looking for things in their house, right, when it's just a result of the nutrition they've been using. So here's my point. When you're going to concentrate immune forces, you have to pulse it, number one, or you have to be in a spot where you're willing to deal with the pain of your immune system causing inflammation because of your lifestyle. You got to pulse it or be in that spot. So I had a gentleman, he's probably listening to this right now. This is funny though. He emailed me this morning and he said, hey, there's a friend of mine, and he said, hey, what should I do with a certain supplement that's a Th1 driver? And I won't say who it is. Last time we talked about this, they sold out. Crazy. We did a webinar with 1,000 providers, and they cached the storage supplies of 2 companies that I mentioned. Amazing. So anyway, that's a cool response. But this gentleman emailed me and said, what if I took this stuff, this Th1 stimulant, when I feel symptoms coming on? So yes, that's how we should be using it, because you're going to hate your life in 2 weeks if you use immune stimulants, but we have uncontrolled areas of inflammation. Right? You're going to hate your life in 2 weeks. You're going to be like going on your telehealth, and the doctor's going to be listening to you talk about your aches and pains and all this stuff, and the doctor's going to be like, well, I think that you need to use Advil. And you're like, I thought you told me not to use Advil. And they're like, well, then you're going to be in pain. That's the only option. Right? They're not going to look at your nutrition. Pulsing in immune enhancers is important. It's absolutely important. So remember, the part of your body that is going to defend itself against pathogens of all kind is the pro-inflammatory part. It's the cell-mediated inflammatory response. That's what we're trying to upregulate with nutrition But that's what we've spent the rest of life trying to downregulate so that you're not in pain. So that's why I got to follow step number 1 first. Concentrate your immune forces. Do some fasting. It's awesome, right? Annoying for a few days, but you're going to love it when you start feeling different and the water retention level of your body starts going down, and you go, oh, I had no idea. No idea. So if you don't, and you pulse your immune system and you start boosting it with Th1 stimulants, you're just going to feel awful, right? Important to remember that. Important. If you're somebody or you have patients that find themselves in this situation, and they're the ones I'm talking about here, where they've been stimulating immune activity because they've been buying all the stuff off the shelf at Target or whatever, and now they're all in pain, take a different approach. What if instead of stimulating immune activity, Th1 activity, stimulating that inflammatory response, what if instead of doing that, we just give the immune system the building blocks it needs to mount a healthy response when it's time? So yeah, I'm talking about vitamin C. I'm talking about D, right? I'm talking about vitamin K. So if you use D3 or K2 together, the blend. I'm talking about glutathione. I'm talking about vitamin B12, a quality multivitamin. These are the things I'm describing here because these are not drivers of immune system activity other than glutathione, but they are definitely required for your immune system to be able to use it. It's kind of like having gas in the tank. I know you don't store tons of vitamin C. It's a water-soluble vitamin. But you have to have some in the tank in order to move them in the right direction, a patient in the right direction. Like in China, they did a study, right, where you start taking IVs of vitamin C, and they're going 6 grams to 12 grams a day. 6 to 12. That's a lot, right? But they were dosing 500 milligrams an hour. How come they didn't just give them 6 grams at once? Well, that probably shock the system like shocking a pool, right? But additionally, the kidneys are going to get rid of that stuff. You're not going to store it, so they're just giving you a slow drip all day. Same thing when it comes to quality nutrition. I think that you have to have a little bit of exposure often and allow the body to use and have a plethora of these nutrients available even though you can't store them. So that's where it's at. So I've been getting questions all across the board. How do I do this, doctor? What should I do? What should I do for my family? And all this stuff. And I'm super pleased to be able to help and give a recommendation. And that's my recommendation. You're going to use immune stimulants? Not if you're not controlling and concentrating your immune forces. I wouldn't. Are you going to give your body the building blocks that are required for a healthy immune response? Absolutely. That's where it's at. That's the easiest thing you can do in order to promote proper function. The easiest. It'll give you the nutrients required to mount that inflammatory response when the big bad virus comes knocking, or whatever pathogen you're talking about. And then when it goes away, the immune system can chill out because you're not stimulating and forcing the immune response. Right? You're just creating the ingredients so that if the body decides it wants to do that, it's ready. All right. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to this short podcast, about 25-30 minutes here, and just talking a little bit deeper about some of the topics that you heard in the previous one. If you got any questions, obviously shoot an email. Obviously, share this with your friends. And obviously, thank you guys for participating with the Nutrition Hero podcast once again.